Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. So this last Thursday, March 11th, the TCG Forbidden and Limited list was updated, showcasing changes that would take place, well, yesterday, March 15th. To make sure we're all on the same page and to pad for time, here are all the changes. Union Carrier, Number S0 Utopic Zexal, and True King of All Calamities have been banned. Cyber Angel Ben 10 went from 3 copies to 1. And Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche, Duloran, Tiger King of the Ice Barrier, Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer, Rank Up Magic, Argent Chaos Force, and True King's Return all went from their respective statuses all the way to 3, with Firewall Dragon joining them on April 14th. In general, reception to the list has been fairly positive while still generating a lot of discussion, which doesn't seem to happen together all that often. Anyway, after doing some research and compiling information, here are 5 things to keep in mind when it comes to the March 2021 format. Number 1. Drytron's future is set in stone. Cyber Angel Ben 10 going to 1 was a pretty extreme hit for the deck. Even without going into the variety of Light Fairy setups it could enable, the fact that it could search itself means that the Drytron's effects, which would normally resolve at even card economy, would be +1s as long as you had more Ben 10s to search. However, we may still see it being played in the deck. It's searchable with Preparation of Rites, and can search you Artifact Lancia, and being able to grab sideboard cards like that is phenomenal. Now, when I first saw this change, I felt like the days of Ultimateness setups were long behind us, as well as the existential horror of watching your field get consumed by Natasha. And while you could still include Vanity's Ruler in your deck in case you hard draw it, I have a sneaking suspicion that's not going to pan out. Despite this, like any good ritual deck, I doubt the theme will go away entirely, just pivot. After some very helpful input, a big thank you to everyone who answered my questions on Twitter about this, rocks will likely be the next big typing splash into the deck by way of megaliths. Full, all by itself, adds quite a lot of tricky play sequences to the mix. It can actually recycle Ben 10 on summon so you can reuse its effect, and making it level 6 gives you easier access to Beatrice, which can, when everything is said and done, essentially search you a Drytron. Full also gives you access to summoning Bathor out of your deck at quick effect speed, and with a properly set up grave, it's almost scarier than Nibiru, coming out at the perfect time to devastate a field. Combined with a surprisingly stubborn fairy lineup, and you've got a deck that went from a stalwart control strategy to a brutal tempo theme, so make sure to get your Fog Kings ready. Number 2, Union Carrier was banned, solving nothing. I didn't mention this in the Drytron section because it has quite a few other applications. It did mess with their consistency by removing what amounted to a search through Dawn Knight, but that was honestly the least of their horrendous applications. When fully online, Union Carrier was responsible for setting up extra deck lockouts with Dragon Buster Destruction Sword or near infinite negate combos with Mist Valley Apex Avian and their baby bird. But with Union Carrier now confined to the Forbidden list, I suppose the design team felt safe bringing Dragon Buster Destruction Sword back. After all, Buster Blader needs every card it can get, and now that Union Carrier is gone, what's the harm in bringing it back? But if there's something I've learned in my many years of playing, it's that if you give your player base a powerful, one-sided floodgate, people will find a way to abuse it, and in the wake of this ban list, 2 ways of doing it have been discovered, and you'll never guess who has access to it. Virtual World has unprecedented access to the Rank 6 toolbox, and 2 of them is all they need. Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, can send any card from your deck to the grave, and Inzektor Exabeetle can, on Xyz summon, equip a monster from any grave to it. So with enough material, you can send Dragon Buster Destruction Sword to the grave just to have Exabeetle equip it on entry. Now, granted, Exabeetle will only end up having 1200 attack, but low stats on a Floodgate monster aren't the end of the world. Mech Knight Avermax makes those stats irrelevant, and Negation can counter interaction. It doesn't seem like many VW players are leaning into this strategy at the moment, but keep it in mind, you never know when someone's going to try and make it relevant. Dragon Link, which is purported to make a comeback to this format, can also set up a Buster Lock. DMZ Dragon can equip a level 4 or lower dragon in your grave to a dragon you control, which is just spectacular. The setup doesn't require you to go much out of your way either. The extra deck has all the pieces that you need, using either Halqifibrax or Protector Whelp to get Dragon Buster into rotation, and your Guard Dragons Elpie and Pisty to get the DMZ. Once they're in play, they can equip Dragon Buster to a powerful monster you control, think Borreload Savage, and on top of locking out the extra deck, they gain an extra 500 attack, so they're even harder to deal with. And don't forget about the rest of DMZ's text, because it can give a double attack to close out games. This seems like a much more reliable setup than the VW one, and I wouldn't be surprised if it became the deck's main power play after having lost a lot of its power and resilience after the last list. Make sure to pack your back row removal in your side deck, and get ready for this tiny dragon to hit the ban list again very soon. Number 3, VFD is dead. Long live VW! The cries of the player base have finally been answered. The very fun dragon is now very fortuitously delisted. Card lore canon once again foretells a ban list change. This is overall very good for the game. Floodgates can be a fun addition to the game if their effects are symmetrical, because that usually forces very interesting deck design to limit how much it hurts the user. But monsters like Calamities and Utopic Zexal apply only to your opponent, and it's so universally crippling, like locking out freaking effect activations, that I'm honestly just really glad they're gone, no matter how hard or easy they could be to out or inconsistent to set up. Now, there's a contingent of the player base that thinks this just outright kills Virtual World, as this takes away arguably their strongest play, but I think that does a disservice to all the other things the deck is capable of. Chuche is still a very strong piece of interaction, and Shen Shen's Micro-Macro Cosmos can be downright oppressive. And even now, new builds have gone deep into the combo tank and found some interesting plays. Ultimaya Zulkin can be made easily enough, granting access to the ever-effective Crystal Wing. Then you can synchro for Muddy Mud Dragon and fuse it with Zulkin to make Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. Sure, you don't get any of the sweet pops that burn for damage, but it's still a 3000 body that's immune to a ton of interaction that can negate cards. That's pretty scary. Number 4. Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Force. What does it do? Does it do things? Let's find out. If you're not in the know, this anime prominent card might seem like an odd one to ban. On its surface, it's a relatively harmless rank up that can be added from the grave to the hand once per duel. What's the problem with that? Well, as per usual, it's the cards around it that pose the real threat. It wasn't very important after the release of the Numeron Network cards, but Utopic Zexal actually has an alternate summoning condition. By discarding a rank up magic normal spell card, you could stack it on top of a Utopia monster you control. Any deck that could make Beatrice, previously Pendulum Magician but more recently VW, could set up the first part of the combo. Send Argent Chaos Force from your deck to the grave using Beatrice's effect, stack Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger, on top of them, triggering the effect of the rank up magic in grave, putting it back into your hand. Then, if you had access to the level 4s needed to make Utopia, something Parallel Exceed can enable with ease, then you had a Utopic Zexal ready to go, without incurring any meaningful restrictions on yourself along the way. But with Yuma's avatar gone, the spell has no reason to be locked away anymore. The question is, what can we use it for? Well, we have a lot of Utopia cards coming out in Lightning Overdrive, not to mention the recently teased Yuma structure deck, and everything I just mentioned about summoning Utopic Zexal also works on Utopic Dragon. 4000 attack is pretty strong, and if Argent Chaos Force is used for its alternate summoning condition, you get it right back. And if you revive a Utopia with Dragon's effect, then congratulations, cause you just got access to another 4000 attack beatstick. However, I doubt any of this will be competitively relevant in the coming months, so you won't have to worry about staring it down during your next remote duel. The CXCs and number C roster isn't that impressive, at least to me, but this is a huge win to players who've wanted to have access to Argent Chaos Force for the longest time, but were denied it because of a janky combo. Number 5, this list is worth its weight in gold. Din Lords. Another list and not a single hit. How do you keep getting away with this?
Lobbying, mostly. I've had centuries to build up interest in a number of bank accounts across the globe, so it's a relatively simple matter to remind the designers who has their best interests at heart.
Great. Well, Eldritch is still around, and while I don't think that's a problem for the game as a whole, that does mean control is still a very prevalent force in the meta. It doesn't really help that all the worry about the new Dragon Buster lockouts doesn't really affect the deck very much. Sure, Zodiac variants can't access Dryden or Zeus as an immediate answer, but Eldritch is, all at once, targeted removal, and a potentially 3500 attack point monster. And with the absolutely absurd trap lineup they can muster, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. That being said, with the pressure to build against decks like VW and Drytron having let up a bit, Eldritch variants might start getting priority when it comes to deciding tech picks when deck building. Back row removal is still going to be rather strong, and even though they get to replace a lot of their cards, it's in the resolving of those cards that actually pushes them to victory. Harpy's Feather Duster can do a lot to even the playing field, and Cosmic Cyclones can cut them off from their resource looping. And if you want to be an absolute troll about it, or heck, this might actually be a good tech in the mirror, use Trap Trick to set Trap Stun. Can't get a lot of value out of Ice Dragon's Prison if your opponent puts it on ice. So that's the 5 things I think you should most keep an eye on for the coming format. Summon Limit will continue to be an outstanding side deck card, back row removal will be more important than ever, and Dinosaur will still probably continue to tilt me beyond control. But before we wrap up, I wanted to say thank you for watching and giving this a try. I know this isn't the usual ban list content, especially coming from me, but it hasn't really done super well in the past, so I wanted to change things up a little bit. I'd really love to hear what you thought about it, as well as any other format insights you may have. I did my best to research and formulate some useful insights, but I believe the more information we pool, the better. So comment any info or thoughts you have below, and I promise that next time I'll try to get things prepared ahead of time so we can do another blindfold ban list challenge, because that was super fun. Please make sure to also like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with anyone you think might find it useful. It really does a lot to help me out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.